I'm Celeste Hirschman.
And I'm Dr. Danielle Harrell.
And this is episode 2 of Virgin Island Unzipped.
I'm nervous. I'm going to take it one step at a time.
I'm absolutely petrified.
12 virgins are travelling to a unique island retreat that could change their lives forever.
We're going to be talking about Alex and erectile dysfunction. We're going to be talking about Marianne and feeling fetishized. And we're going to be talking about turn-ons and core desires and what turns you on.
Things are set to escalate.
Imagine that your cock is going inside my vagina.
With the second phase of the course.
Good.
Turn-ons.
In society, a lot of people feel ashamed to talk about sex. It can be very embarrassing.
Take a moment to look at your vulva.
But to have a really fulfilling sex life, you have to know what turns you on.
It took me time to find what turns me on because it's kind of like, that's part of what I love about our work together and creating Somatic is I think it was a process of revelation, really understanding what really turns me on. And it took me like 10 years and like to really zero on it really, really well. And
I know, I'm thinking of some of the early things. Like I thought it was like feeling corrupted or something. Like I thought that was one of mine, but it actually didn't turn out to be true. You know,
well, it is true for me.
You want to be corrupted.
I love to be corrupted.
I love that. And so I do think it's, you know, it's kind of a long process to kind of figure out. And I don't think it's like so much that it changes over time. It's just you get more
precise around
exactly,
it.
Exactly. Yeah, so I think if you want to figure out what turns you on, right? Like you want to start to look into like fantasies or like the hottest sexual experiences that you've ever had and start to think, what did I feel during that? You know, did I feel like seen or adored or like safe or worshipped or degraded or, you know, like even scared? Some people want to feel scared.
Or overwhelmed.
Or overwhelmed,
Yeah.
exactly.
Or in danger.
Yeah, and to start to think like, what are the feelings that I want to have? What really turns us on is the feeling that we get during sex. We call this our core desires.
This is the cornerstone of the whole course. Everyone should know their core desires. If you want to have an amazing sex life, find out what you want to feel during sex and tell your partners.
I really love it that in this season we really talked in depth about core desires. I think it's such an important concept around sexuality that, you know, like, because at the end of the day, we go to sex because we want to feel something. It's not just for the acts and the orgasm. Those reinforce and help us feel something emotional inside us.
I love the way everybody shared theirs, and there was so many like commonalities, and then there was some really unique things that people were very brave to share, but it de-shamified everyone to be open in that way.
For me, I think the most important thing is to feel wanted.
Feeling wanted.
I put wanted. I've mainly put wanted.
And appreciated are common desires.
I want to feel loved.
Loved. Everyone wants to feel loved.
But I've only got pampered on mine.
Special.
Praised.
In the show, they showed some of ours, but they, you know, if we wanted to do a little behind the scenes, there was more that we said, right? Because we said, oh, I want to feel precious and I want to feel special, but also if I feel all of those things, sometimes I want to feel a little used. Right? And so there are core desires that I think are very socially acceptable and other ones that are a little bit more like, oh, are you allowed to feel that or do you want to? And I was so glad that some of them came up on the island. You know, like Ed had some, you know, more BDSM-y ones and Millie, I
Want to feel on edge and teased.
Dominated. I feel like a little bit of a perv telling you this, but yeah.
Oh, we love pervs.
We love pervs.
I really want to debunk this idea that something's wrong with you if you want to feel degraded or you want to feel like shamed or you want to feel like babied or you want to nurse or breastfeed. All those things are wonderful or naughty. They're all great. They're just like as healing to experience those experiences as it is healing to experience the resolution feelings. That's more like
because it has to do
with
with agency, right? It doesn't, because if something bad happened to you when you were young and you get now to like retry it, but you're doing it consensually with somebody who cares about you, and you're setting the scene like, I want this to happen, then it's like that thing that just used to happen to you, you didn't have any control over, now it's yours and you get control over it. And there's something very empowering about that. I think that's what people don't understand about those core desires. And they think, well, why would anyone want that? It's like, no, they're reclaiming their experience, and it's really empowering.
Yeah, and it is healing.
It's very healing.
Yeah. We all go through developmental stages, and in those developmental stages, we can either have like a successful experience, means like we passed that experience positively, or we had some challenges in that experience. And usually, the places that we have more challenge, they get like very kind of like stuck a little bit, and we want to keep playing with those materials again. And sex is such a wonderful playground.
I think turn-ons, especially from the more sexual aspect, should not be shared in front of everybody. It should be kept as a secret between you and your partner, which is why I wrote, I have turn-ons, but I'm not sharing them in front of everyone. It should only be a secret between you and your partner. That's about it, really.
I love Birdie.
That's like, we can say it a million times.
A million times.
We
You can say it
Birdie.
every time. I love Birdie. And I love his like self-determination, the way he kind of talks about what he wants. I really like it. So he came and, when we were like sharing core desires, right? So he was saying, no, it's private and it's supposed to be private and I don't want to share it with anyone.
Some people are using privacy to hide or to shield themselves from feeling what they want at all. And other people just want to only share it with their partners. So I think it's important for, like, we want to distinguish.
I felt a bit of uncomfortableness, like, everywhere, really.
I'm a very private person.
You are a
when it
very
comes to
private
sex.
person.
Yeah.
I sometimes have to squeeze things
You
out.
do. Sometimes so private, I even forget what I want.
Yeah, but other people, like me, want to talk about all the
time.
All the time.
I know, you like to talk about it.
Yeah. And also just, I feel like running, like a lot of times we compartmentalize sex and it's like it's only for the bedroom. You can't bring your erotic energy anywhere else, and that can really shut people down.
Completely. If you just think that you're going to have this like segmented experience between your sex life and other life, you're kind of missing out, because it's really hard to turn on this pilot light on if you are compartmentalizing it the whole time.
Yeah, so we try to help people at least have their pilot light on, and then they can decide how much they want to share about what they do sexually and what they want sexually and what they don't.
I feel like I had a lot of issues growing up in South Africa. In school, I was one of 3 mixed race girls, and we didn't really know how to fit in because we weren't like black enough for the black guys, white enough for the white guys. I get viewed as this exotic thing. It has been sort of like a competition of guys. They would never be in a relationship with us, but they just want to like get our clothes off. And so it's really, really hard for me to like trust men.
I feel like it was so vulnerable when Marianne was talking about being fetishized when she was younger. And to me, fetishizing is something very particular. And I thought she was really articulate about it. She talked about like people just wanting to have sex with her because she was mixed race and to check that box.
As opposed to having sex with her as a human being.
Well, and also they didn't want a relationship with her.
Yeah.
They didn't want any other connection. It was really just like, I'm checking a box, so you're not a human being to me, you're a category. And to me, that's the difference between fetishizing someone and actually like, just having attraction. Because we do have attraction sometimes to particular types of people, but you don't want to you want to treat them as a whole person.
Yeah. So it's okay to have a type.
Yes.
It's totally fine to have a type.
It's totally fine to have a type.
But just really notice if you're doing it because you are just like wanting to check a box and then you don't actually see the person, or you are doing it because you are actually want to see and know who they are.
Yeah, because fetishizing can be very dehumanizing.
Yeah.
Right. It can be, you can play with it as a fantasy.
Yeah, you
that's
definitely
different.
can. Because like many
but
people...
that's an empowered place.
Yeah,
right?
many people want to play with objectification in the bedroom, and that's totally fine if you do it from a place that feels much more like consensual and something that both people agree on, and that's a very different experience.
Yeah, and you care about the person's humanity and their feelings, and you could tell that was the thing, I think, that made her feel so unsafe. She's just like, I didn't feel like she needed to really feel like a person to someone to want to be able to feel safe enough to connect sexually with them. And I feel like that's what, really working with Andre helped so much.
Helped her a lot, yeah.
First step for Marianne.
Hello.
It's good to see you.
Is simply being comfortable in the same room as potential surrogate partner, Andre.
How are you feeling now?
A little bit anxious in my stomach. Okay. And that's just because just sort of unknowns and things.
Yeah.
It's important to help people embrace who they're attracted to. I remember I was working with this guy and he was very attracted to Indian women. And there was he had almost like shame or fear, like he wasn't going to be accepted, and for him to sort of embrace, it's like, that's who you're attracted to. That's beautiful, there's like no problem with it. He certainly wasn't fetishizing. He like really fell in love with, and eventually after we worked together, fell in love with and married an Indian woman, so it's like.
Good for him.
Yeah, good for him. But that was really where his attraction lied, and for him to feel like he could still be a part of his community and be included and all those kinds of things was really, really helpful.
Porn is such an opportunity for people to find exactly what they're looking for, but people can be interested in particular porn because it gives them that particular feeling that they're looking for. So,
well, I think it can enforce stereotypes,
for
right?
Sure.
Like I know, there's maybe a stereotype about Asian women that they're passive or something like that, which is not true at all, and so like I know, I have a very good friend who's Asian. She's like, I hate it because people then expect me to be that way.
Right.
And so I think the problem with those, that's sort of the fetishization or the stereotyping makes it so it's like people become unidimensional in people's minds, and that can be really, like hazardous or negative to people out in the world dating. So it's like, don't put me in that box,
Totally.
like I'm a whole human being. And I'm not just going to be your stereotype,
Yeah, and it's important to remember that porn is about like fantasy and people going there for fantasy, and it's not like
that's how the world is.
It's not like a learning academy.
You see sex everywhere. Sex sells is the old cliche, be it from social media, porn, but always playing on my mind is that I can't get an erection. Being a virgin at the age of 28, I feel almost a failure in many ways.
I want to, talk a little bit more about like performance anxiety.
It's big,
huge
here, and I love it because people came into this season like really ready to work on specific issues around sexuality. So I'm really happy. It's a big topical conversation.
Yeah, and I think there's like. You see actually a lot of different kinds of performance anxiety throughout all of the episodes. And for Alex in particular, it's like erectile dysfunction is the performance anxiety.
And for Will, it is premature ejaculation.
Exactly. And for other people, it's just like, I won't know how to touch a body or I won't be able to give pleasure. So
or I won't be able to get a penis inside me, like for joy, it was vaginismus.
Exactly. So performance anxiety is sort of like any anxiety about your ability to perform in a sexual way, and function properly and do it well. And then there's kind of specific types of performance anxiety. And Alex is dealing a lot with ED, erectile dysfunction.
Yeah.
Anxiety has played a massive part in my life. Going to private school, I put myself under a lot of pressure that if I didn't perform my best, I'd feel I'd let people down, and never really knew how bad it was until I tried to have sex and was too nervous to do it. Anything less than perfect is not good enough for me.
I had like a fascinating session with Alex. It was really good because like the goal of the sessions was to really see if he can lose himself in his own pleasure and really give him permission to do that. But he really tried, and I think he tried to lose himself, but he was so focused, like the whole time he was like, am I getting hard? Am I getting hard? You almost saw the chains of the thoughts behind, even like worrying about, I'm touching her boob and I'm not getting hard.
It's like such a focus
focus of, am I going to get hard? And this is almost like the prescription of not getting hard.
Yeah. And it's even why we do like touching for your own pleasure. It's like, how do you really immerse in the pleasure of an experience as opposed to the performance of a task?
Exactly. Yeah. And it was really hard for him to get there because he was constantly focused on,
am I doing this right?
Yeah.
Pleasure mapping is an exercise where Elil touches Alex all over his body.
So we can start laying down,
including his genitals, so Alex can lie back and concentrate on pleasure.
Is this the touch that
That feels
you
nice,
want?
yeah. I've had 3 people that I would describe as a girlfriend. But I never had sex with anyone. The first time I tried, I had a panic attack. I was so nervous I couldn't get an erection. And I then convinced myself that sex is something, I guess, scary or nerve-wracking. It's constantly playing on my mind.
I mean, if you're dealing with performance anxiety, see if you can come back to like how enjoyable an experience is as opposed to like, am I doing it right? Like, do I like it? Am I connected? Do I feel sensation? Am I aroused, right? That's a way better gauge than like, am I doing it right? Is this okay? Is what's
and also, am I hard now? Am I hard now? Am I hard now? Because like, it's really important to remember that it's okay not to be hard the whole time that you are with a person. I think there's a lot of like expectations from men to be hard just from a sight of someone attractive, and that's not realistic. I think one of the things that Alex learned is that he needs direct touch on his penis to feel aroused and like feel the connection, the pleasure, which is kind of important.
Yeah, and there's so much pressure on penises to like
so much pressure
be hard.
On the spot,
to stay hard long enough to, you know what I mean? It's just like, oh, if you're like wrapped up in that, you can get really in your head and out of the experience. And, you know, like he was having like actual
anxiety.
Like, heart palpitations from like not, you know, like being so worried. And then you could see it's like, oh, wait, if I just relax and enjoy this, actually I'm really very hard. You know, I think he was like surprising himself with that.
Yeah.
So did you feel me fully aroused? Yeah.
Could you feel you fully aroused?
Yeah.
Amazing.
And you know, it kind of brings me to porn again, because I think because so many more people learn to masturbate with porn, then many times we'll need much more touch on the genitals in order to get aroused, and not just like, you know, it used to be that you just saw a naked woman in a magazine and it was like, oh my God, it's so exciting, and you got hard. But now it's like so available, so it's much harder to stay hard or be hard just from a sight.
I know, and I thought you were going to even say like the fact that there's the erections are, you know, I know a lot of porn stars. They are taking a lot of Viagra. So the expectation is very unrealistic, right? Because they just like have this raging hard on the whole time, and that's, you know, that's
not
penises.
Not real.
Erections go up and down.
That's
the truth
normal.
Of sex.
Yeah. Within a sexual experience, for sure.
Yeah, for example, let's say you're going down on a woman or a man, you might gain and lose your erection because you're like really concentrating on like giving pleasure and stuff like that. So, you know, I think it's important to know that like it can fluctuate.
I also really want to say that there's like, I think like when people like try to get off porn and try to have arousal without porn, they don't get the same results with their hard-ons. So it can be kind of like demotivating, and I just really want to make sure that if you're at home watching, you understand that the body route of arousal is very different than the brain penis route of arousal.
Slower.
It's slower and much more spread, it's less focused, goes up and down, right? So it's really important to remember that it's not going to feel or look the same.
Yeah. And maybe like if, you know, some people need Viagra, but before you go immediately to getting a prescription, like try to practice more with embodiment and see if you can find out your core desires and what turns you on, and see if you can practice that with partners, and then see, you know, your body, and without feeling like, oh, I have to have a raging hard on the entire time that I'm being sexual with somebody, but to just like give your body permission for the ups and downs.
Yeah, and I do think that many times women put pressure on guys. I had clients that came to me and they was like, oh, I just feel like I'm okay not to have a hard-on, but my partner is freaking out because it makes her feel like I'm not attracted to her. So it's really important to like help people see that it's like your partner's penis and hard-on is not the only sign of arousal and turn-on that they're having. People can have a full body experience that's not gonna get them hard.
Hey guys.
How did your one-on-one go?
Good. It went into genital touching. And yeah, that felt really good.
I bet.
Okay, everyone, we're going to answer your most asked questions from season 1. One of the things that really gets in the way of us feeling our turn-ons is inhibition. And today's workshop is all about letting out your inner animal.
There's another animal just next to you. You can smell. I love the animal game. It's so awesome. And people always ask us, what animals are we? And are we the same animal?
Yeah.
And I'm not an animal when I'm in the animal game. I'm much more, it's my opportunity to get connected with my arousal and my kind of like disinhibition and my...
The Danielle animal.
The Danielle animal.
Yeah.
I just like, it's more like an invitation to kind of act on raw desire.
Yeah. If I identify with an animal at all, it's more like a lion or big cat,
like
you know,
prowling,
like a cougar.
Yeah, like a cougar.
Like a cougar. Yeah. But more, it's just like the idea is like you just want to not be inhibited, right? Like you want to like, and sometimes just imagining that you're an animal takes away that humanness of like, you're supposed to be proper and you're supposed to be nice and you're supposed, you know, instead of just like, oh, I'm going to go after something that I want because it looks delicious, you know, and bringing in that disinhibition is like an important step in helping people make moves and escalate, you know, and then you bring in technique and consent and all of those other things, but disinhibition is an important step.
Yeah, I had a client who was so busy with thinking about what animal he is, and he turned on that he decided to be a beaver.
Oh, that's so animal.
And I was like, okay, let's see what we do with that. And he just like literally rolled me like a log in a session. Wow. I was like, that's not what we're meaning here.
His beaver could have connected with your beaver. He missed an opportunity.
I was the log. He had really high work ethics.
I love it. A lot of people ask us, like, is porn bad? Or, like, should I watch porn? Or, you know, so I think it's a really important conversation because porn is everywhere, very, very available.
And very early on, it's, like, almost impossible to block it.
We're talking about the pluses, and then we can also talk about the minuses of porn, right? So some of the pluses are just, like, normalizing a lot of different kinds of desires and finding, you know, that maybe you're not the only one who's interested in feet or something like that, right? That there's a lot of, and so it sort of can be de-shamifying, can be clarifying in terms of your turn-ons, but then there are a lot of challenges also. I think of it as like the heroin of sex, right? It's just like, you're like mainlining really, really high levels of arousal. So maybe in, you know, just sex with another person, you won't even be able to get an erection.
What I feel like is really helpful is to kind of learn like the body route of pleasure, which is more like really maybe like watching a little bit of porn, but then like turning around and like touching your full body to create more like an embodied experience of pleasure.
Yeah, I remember I had a client who had been watching porn for so many years that like we really had to almost like look at the screen,
look,
and then bring touch. Like start to like retranslate. And
yeah.
I think the other thing about porn that's so challenging is like it has a really unrealistic, like people are like, my penis must be small, you know, because the penises you see in porn are like, I don't even have anywhere to put that, you know what I mean?
You might not even want it around you because it's so big. Yeah.
Or like, this is what my vulva is supposed to look like because there's very specific, you know, like vulvas in porn that you don't, you know, you don't see like the variety usually. You know, November where you're supposed to like not have, you're not supposed to masturbate for all of November. They tell men not to masturbate.
It's the worst.
It's really just for men. I don't think they're telling women to not masturbate, but maybe.
They don't even count women as someone to masturbate. That's even worse.
So to me, it's like, if the point of it is maybe to take a break from porn, but you don't have to stop masturbating. Like, why would you do that to yourself? It's really good for you to masturbate. It's good for the prostate. You know, it's good to ejaculate.
But also, like, you know, if you want to take a break from porn, use November. No, not November for that. But if you really want to, and then you can, like, train your body to experience pleasure from sensation and touch and maybe run some fantasy. Because running a fantasy in your head is a skill.
Yeah, so keep nutting in November.
Next time,
Look at my pussy. I'm definitely a lesbian.
the dating phase panics Ellen.
Just don't feel like I'm good enough.
Alex ups his game.
Do you want to see how hard you are?
And things heat up
Cheers.
with island dates.
I'm so nervous, Will.
Why?
I think it's because it's you.